Hey, so I wanted to check in on CRISPR. Ticker symbol on the screen here is CRSP. So this is a therapeutic company that we started following. And I think just before we get into it, so we're going to go over the news and technical analysis for this one. Um, but before we get into that, let's just check in on where it stood last time we looked at this. So on the screen here in blue, right here. Last time we looked at this was on June 3rd. At that time, it was trading at $65. We had buy points marked at 45 and 52. We also had resistance points marked at 71 and 90. So pretty big range here. We'll see if that needs to be modified at all once we get to the technical analysis. And our note that we left is that there was a possible disease therapy to be approved. Just to kind of give a heads up, that is still in process, but we'll go into that as we get into the news. So let's just take a look at what's been going on over the past month. So number one, the FDA accepts Vertex and CRISPR's BLA filing for this exa-cel, which is this therapy. So to go into the article itself, again, Vertex and CRISPR announced that the FDA has accepted their biologics license applications, which is the BLA, for these exagamologene automacel or exa-cel to treat sickle cell disease and transfusion dependent beta thalassemia or TDT. FDA granted priority review to the BLA filing for the exa-cel in the sickle cell disease. Exa-cel filing in TDT indication has been accepted for a standard review. Final decision on the BLAs for the SCD and TDT are expected at December 8th. So that's the sickle cell one. And then the beta thalassemia, uh, that's March. So we still have a long way to go until we get a final announcement on has this been approved. So kind of just have to wait and see. Once we go through the news, there are other projects that they're working on, but I mean, this was the main one. I guess it's good that it's it's been accepted. It's just again, we now have to wait until at least December, and then we'll know for sure what's going on. So to wrap this one up, acceptance of the above BLA's filing marks the first time that the FDA accepted gene editing therapies developed using CRISPR technology. Vertex and Crispr Therapeutics also filed similar submissions on exa-cel in Europe, which were validated earlier this year in January. So based on the timelines here, assuming Europe follows the same type of testing process, which would be about a year, we would expect Europe to also have a decision come December or January. Uh, so big things could happen at the end of the year for this company. Apart from exa-cel, Vertex and CRISPR are developing stem cell therapies for diabetes. This March, Vertex signed another agreement with CRISPR to accelerate the development of the former's hypoimmune cell therapies for T1D. So again, another agreement with a larger company, Vertex, well known. So I'm always happy to see that the smaller company merge with a bigger one and make it a deal here. So another promising note here to agree with Vertex. Here we had an approval an approval represents CRISPR Therapeutics' first product revenue. So this would be a big change for them. It could be significant considering the need for such a treatment, meaning the sickle cell and the beta thalassemia. Commercialization could set the company off on route to revenue growth and eventual profitability. So a lot of these companies, I'm not sure if it's going to get mentioned at all, but a lot of these companies work with grants from the government and just grant money, really, donations. And so if they're able to successfully put something out and get approved, like it says, that would mean revenues coming in and potentially profits. And anytime a company can turn from negative profit to uh, actual like positive profit, that's going to be a big thing for any company. So hopefully we're catching this one as it transitions into net positive profit. The company is expected to report earnings per share of negative $2.18, which is actually up from the prior quarter. The latest consensus estimate is calling for revenue of $3.2 million, which is up from prior quarter. But again, this is showing how small this company is. So a big approval could mean a lot to this company. As far as the full year, estimates suggest analysts are expecting earnings for the full year to be negative $6.37 per share, with revenue of $221 million, which would be changes of 23%, 23, 24%. And as far as the revenue, that's like 18,000. So that, again, shows how small this company is in terms of revenue. I'm not sure what that revenue is coming from. Once we get the next quarter's financial statements, time should allow us to look into that and see where that's coming from today. And hopefully, like we mentioned earlier, this approval can really kick that up a notch. Here we have this article. Wall Street estimates that CRISPR Therapeutics stock could jump 49%. Again, this is all kind of revolving around, will this treatment get approved, one or both of them? So it goes on to say, if the company nails the approval for both indications, its stock could easily go even higher than the current average price target of 85. And I think right now it's trading about somewhere between like $50 and $60. So that's close to, like they said, a 50% jump. Uh, uh, Terms of its collaboration partner, so Vertex, this kind of comes with a fee here. CRISPR Therapeutics will split both the costs and profits, so some give and take there. From the exa-cel program, 60-40. Vertex is going to receive the 60, CRISPR takes on the 40, both for costs and profits. And again, since CRISPR doesn't really make any money, if this were to get approved, that's a lot of profit, even that 40%. Before the end of the year, CRISPR plans to launch at least a couple of gene editing therapy programs into early stage clinical trials, which should give the stock a little boost. So we'll look forward to that. Intended to work by editing a patient's genes so as to treat or even permanently cure hereditary conditions, among other illnesses. With the possibility of a big price movement upward comes the risk of a sharp tumble. So we'll see how this plays out. That isn't too likely, as most of the performance and safety data has been well received so far. A more likely bump in the road is that FDA requests that the company provide more information or conduct additional trials to address their concerns. Again, we'll just have to wait and see, but it kind of preparing us for worst case scenario. It sounds like the sentiment is these will not necessarily get rejected. I haven't really seen that sentiment. Of course, it's been mentioned, but it's more so either it's going to get approved or they're going to want more research, and that's why this was pulled. And then our last news piece. So someone did a intrinsic value for the stock. Again, paying attention to the date. This was done close to 2 weeks ago at this point, on June 29th. And I'm just sharing the graphic here. They're estimating based on, and of course I have the link down here too, so you can copy that or look up this article. But this was really all I wanted to pull, was this chart based on their math equations, which is like the discounted cash flow method, and I think they use two different methods. One's discounted cash flow, and the results are basically this, that they're saying that based on their calculations, the fair market value today, or at this point, so June 29th, was the stock's fair value is $64. and at that time the price was $57. So it was undervalued to a degree. But with that out of the way, let's actually take a look at our technical charts here. So we do have that on the screen, but then, okay, so here's the technicals. Um, and it's right about at 57. So it's actually right where it said it was. So apparently not much has changed since the end of June. Let me get this out of here. So what we're seeing here on the screen is the purple line here is just what we thought was going to happen. I'm guessing this was just a retracement of what was happening, and based on that, I thought, sure, it's going to pop up here to where it was around, what is this, around 55. I thought it would just do a little consolidation. It did do that, and then I thought around the second to third quarter of 23, I thought it was going to shoot off. And it kind of did. I mean, it reached points of in the mid 60s. I thought it was going to continue higher, close to like the 70s or 80s. But I also think, I'm guessing I did that because I thought approval for the treatment was going to happen sooner rather than later. If I would have known that it was going to take this long, I probably would have reined it in a little bit. So, and maybe others had the same impression. And so it did top out at about 65, got rejected, and now we are where we are. So that just gives some background on what the purple line is. It was more like projection. And this box here, that's where I kind of thought it would end up at the end of second quarter. So it clearly missed that. Based on just looking at this and knowing what we know now, I'm going to scale this one back. If I can click it, it's not letting me select it for some reason. Here we go. So I'm just going to pull this one back, especially for the third quarter. I think fourth quarter, end of the year, that's still on the table. But for now, I'm going to pull this one back to maybe here. I want to give it a little bit of breathing room. So that's a pretty big window. I might tighten it up if we look at this one in August. But yeah, that's probably a better range for this one. I don't think it's going to drop as low as 45 again. Possible, but I also don't think it's going to go as high as like 70s or 80s that quickly. Once things get approved, if they get approved, yes, then that is definitely on the table. So I guess let's just start off by going back to June 3rd. So let's scroll in here. June 3rd was right about here. So $65, $64, that's what we marked. Since then, it's really gone downhill from there. Kind of surprised to see it, but it makes sense based on the timelines. So we can update the 65 to 57. We had buy points marked at 45 and 52. So 45 is this green line down at the bottom. That seems to be strong support line going back to, I guess it's more recently. It's acted as support. If we kind of stop ourselves in like mid 2019, so about 4 years ago, it had ultimate lows of like 38. That's like very close to the bottom in terms of the past 3-4 years. 45 seems to be like the preliminary stopping point, and then $52, which is the blue line, the lower of the two blue lines, that seems to be another point of support. We had some here in about 2020, February of 2020. Yes, it ultimately dipped below, but it paused there for a good while. Once it got above that point again, years later, all of a sudden, not until March of 2022 did it come there. It acted as pretty firm support as it bounced back up. Ultimately, it did come down to 45. We also see more recently 52 acting as support here in October, November of 22. And even today, like just a couple weeks ago, it's stalled out right around $54, $53, and again, it's acted as support. So that seems to be the more likely of the two, is $52. Of course, if it drops lower to like a 50 or a 46, I would probably want to add to that. But overall, I would say 52 is the number that I'm searching for today. Again, with that in mind, that if it dropped to 45, I'd aim to pick up more shares. So 52 is the point. For resistance, we had 71 and 90. That should be 91, I think. So 71 is this upper blue line, and then 91 is the red line. So let's just kind of confirm that, see if we want to change it at all. So not much with the 91. We could probably scale that back a little bit. We're going to scale back the 91 to 84 as of right now. I think that's kind of way out there into the future. But 80, looks like I left it at 85. We'll give it the extra dollar. So 85. We moved that down a little bit just because when it was on this big downward trend during like 2021, we can see that it tried to catch itself, but for whatever reason, it couldn't get above $85 here in December of 21. It kind of continued sloping downwards. Then it had a big pop in July and August of 22. Again, got to 85, but was rejected. So 85, for whatever reason, seems to be a pretty firm resistance point. So I like that figure. And then 71. Again, I guess looking at the more recent trend where it went down, 71 acted as resistance here once in March, April of 22, again here in September of 22, and now here we are today. It didn't even come close to 71, but if we zoom in, we can actually see some tails. So that's what these, not sure if it's quite visible on the screen during playback, but there's these little tails in here that go up to 71. So the market actually had it trading at these levels. It's just the masses weren't there. The masses were more in the low 60s, in the 50s. So I'll keep 71. I'm going to make 71 the bold figure at this point because that seems to be the more today's resistance. Once we get up to 71, then yeah, 85 will be the more secured resistance point that is going to be more pivotal to us. We can also update the dates to today. No possible disease therapy to be approved. I'm just going to add in not until December of 2023 for sickle cell, and March of 2024 for beta thalassemia. I'm not sure if I'm spelling that right, but it gets our message across. Anything else in terms of like technicals? I mean, we could argue that it's kind of trading between about 45 and 71. It's been doing that for over a year and a half at this point. It's really just been bouncing. Yeah, we could say that. We could probably bring this blue line down a little bit too if we wanted. We'll keep it there. So I guess I'll add that note in that it's consolidating between, what do we have? I'll say 45 and 71 since January of 22. So with that in mind, yeah, we want to catch this one as close to 45 as possible. 52 seems like an area that's kind of being supported. I think this one's close enough that I would probably I'll give it the green for right now. There seems to be a lot of positive news around this one. Plus, it's very close. It's a $5 difference with a pretty big spread. If we had resistance at, say, 60 and it was right in the middle, then yeah, it would get the blue. But because it's at the lower end, yeah, I guess it probably truly is fair value. Because again, if we're looking at, well, if these are the three lines between 71 and 45, I just don't know if 45 is really on the table at this point. It definitely could, but it seems like 52 is acting stronger. So, I'm going to give it the green for right now. It's a little bit of a reach, but I feel like in terms of timing, it's very close to our buy point. So I'll give it the thumbs up for now. So that's gonna wrap this one up. So here we have just a quick recap. We have CRISPR. I'm giving it a green, meaning I'm probably gonna buy this one in the near future, today if not tomorrow. So somewhere this week. But it's currently trading at about 57. I have buy points marked at 45 and 52. It's close enough to 52 that I think I'm willing to pull the trigger on it. Resistance at 71 and 85. Again, it's very close to that buy point at 52 with a decent range. Another reason why I'm going to give it the thumbs up. And then the note that we left ourselves is that possible disease therapy to be approved. That's the same, but we added on not until December of this year for the sickle cell aspect, and then not until March of 2024 for the beta thalassemia. And also that it's been consolidating between 45 and 71 since January of 2022. So again, the closer we can get it to 45, I think it's the better deal. 57 is close enough to me that I'm willing to give it the go-ahead. So that pretty much wraps it up. If you want to add any insights that you think I might have missed, or if you just have a question, by all means let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it, or just read it. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.